Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our podcast.
Welcome back.
Or welcome. If
Hello,
this
hello,
is your
hello.
first episode, you are so lucky that you're here with us. Want to chat?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
You're
why did you say?
so blessed.
He's eating something.
Eat it, buddy.
No, don't eat it.
We had to take our cat to the vet. Funny story. We thought he had a couple ticks.
Well, no, I found a patch of hair that's missing on his, closer on his stomach, but closer to the bottom part of his body. And then I was like, James, look, and it looked like a skin tag. So we're like, okay, we'll go check it out and see. And James took him while I was at work.
But we did I did a quick Google search.
Yeah.
So when I looked at it, I'm like, this kind of looks like a tick. And our cat's outside all the time. And it's cold, and when they're outside, they look for warm places, the ticks, right?
Oh.
So when I brought it to the vet, he's like, these aren't ticks, man. These are nipples.
These are his nipples.
Like, yo, what the hell?
My baby has nipples.
I didn't know a cat had nipples.
Yeah.
Male cat. Male cat.
Yeah.
I didn't know a male cat had nipples.
So cute. So then, and then they checked my baby's heart, and they think that he has a heart murmur.
Yeah, poor guy.
So we're going to get a second opinion, of course, and see. They said it's very minor, so we're not worried at all. Yeah. Our baby is a survivor, man. He has made it on his own.
He's from the streets.
Yeah.
He was a roadman before this.
Yeah, when we first got him, he would go into our garbage because he didn't know when his next meal was coming.
Yeah.
So he would try to go. So James had put a little elastic, remember?
Bungee cord,
Bungee cord. My baby.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
He's healthy for the most part that we know of right now.
Yeah, he's healthy. What do you mean for the most part?
We have to get the second opinion.
Oh, hell to the no. The way you said that made me worried.
Yeah, we're going to need some counseling on this.
Speaking of counseling, what's today's episode about?
So we're going to talk about our journey, each of our personal journeys with therapy and how it's been for us and has it worked and what we like about it.
Think about it. Yeah. Overall, I'm so curious to know if people have invested their time and money into therapy before. So let us know down in the comments if you have. It's something that a lot of people don't do, and a lot of people nowadays do.
Yeah, the question is, does it actually work for you?
Yeah.
And how long did it take for it to actually work?
Because a lot of people are still open to it, but don't find it very helpful. So we thought, what an interesting thing to kind of talk about. Because again, all of our topics comes from our day-to-day conversations when we have conversations with each other. So I think we were like, okay, let's talk about that. Oh, look, the knife is there. He wants to go sleep there.
I'll move that one sec.
Yeah. So as James is moving that for him, come on, mommy, look.
Come here, buddy.
Oh, he's so cute. He wanted to go sleep on this little rocking chair, but there was a little tool there. So James just moved it. Aw. Cats, man, they do whatever they want. No counseling will help them.
Classic anyways, yeah. So there's a lot of online therapy and stuff too. Like people are getting a lot of their therapy through TikTok and Instagram. It's crazy.
Even medical advice, which, we don't recommend at all.
It's wild.
That's insane. Obviously, there are good therapists out there who are putting out content. That's for sure. But it's also oversaturated. So with just too much information. So I think it's good for us before we get into what we think and our opinions and experiences. It's important for me to mention that we don't really know anything. We're just talking about our opinions. This is just solely what we think and what we've experienced. So don't listen to us in terms of oh, Tina and James said this, so I'm going to do the same, whether it's positive or negative.
Yeah, we don't want to be those guys advocating certain therapeutic
Go to therapy for sure, or don't go to therapy for sure,
Yeah. This is just our experience. So
yeah, and it's different for everybody. Mm-hmm. So did you ever go to therapy before we met?
Yeah.
Or did I drive you crazy?
No, you didn't drive me crazy. I drove you crazy. It was the other way. I had to go to therapy to learn how to not drive her crazy. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but as in
before,
honestly,
I actually didn't. I did go to therapy. a bunch of times, but I had a lot of different types of therapy.
Like?
I had like children's counseling, you know, as a kid for like some of the stuff that we went through, and being in like foster homes and juvenile detention centers and stuff like that.
Okay.
You had to go through like certain
So
kinds.
It was a must. You had to do it.
It was just something, yeah, like
part of your program.
Yeah, we didn't know it was happening until when you look back, they just come and do it, right? Just to kind of make sure. I think it's like to build whatever case they need to build or get any information so that you're in a safe home. Or
do you remember them?
Some of them, most of them I do.
And were they helpful?
I don't know. I was a kid. I just wanted to get back to my parents. Do you know what I mean?
Parents or play or whatever, right?
It wasn't ever play.
Oh, okay.
I just want to go back home, you know?
Actually?
Yeah.
Because you've told me you sometimes also put yourself.
When I was older, as a kid, I guess my timeline's different than yours right now. So when I was younger, like there's this thing called Children's Aid, and it's these intermediate people who come in, intercede as the child's representative towards the parents to see.
How did they know you needed them?
So we were in an abusive home, right? So they'll usually intercede when there's like domestic violence or domestic.
Cops were called and stuff.
Yeah. So then, and there's children in the home,
officers, right? Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering who told them. You know.
Yeah.
How did they know?
Sometimes parents play games with the other parent, especially if they're divorced too.
Divorced parents. Yeah.
I don't know how much of that was the case, but. Yeah, so then there was those ones. Those ones I really just wanted to get home. I didn't want to be because it's strange, you know, random person asks you weird questions. Not weird questions, but like
intimate questions, probably
tough questions.
Tough questions.
You don't see your parents that way, and then they're asking you questions about them that way, right?
Also, it can confuse you, right?
Yeah.
As a kid, wow, that's really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know when you're a kid, though. You're just kind of uncomfortable. You
just want to get back home.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said. Okay.
When I was older, those ones were, I don't know. I felt like a lot of those ones were just due diligence on their part.
Maybe you didn't feel like cared for.
No, the most kind of, I guess the most therapeutic thing that I would have got out of when I was a kid and getting in trouble was my, what are they called? They're like the staff. They're not guards. Because I was in an open juvenile in Canada's, where you can mix like people who need to go to foster homes and people who are in trouble with the law at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And then there's like a secure facility for like more violent crimes. Mine were all petty, like misdemeanor stuff. The people who worked there were amazing.
That's so nice to hear, like, isn't it?
I look back on those times and those were like some of the best. Like I was in juvie, I couldn't go home. I had to stay in this room. We were kind of like in a mini jail, but it was like one of the best times I've had, you know?
Yeah.
Fed good, played good games, became friends with them, you know, like in that certain level.
So the people who were working there were really nice. That's nice. So, and you had therapy.
They had good advice too. Yeah, we'd have therapy sessions there.
Wasn't in one of those Wasn't in one of those places where you picked a place on Earth to visit or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, and that's where we're going soon. So
yeah. Was it Madeira or Azores?
Azores.
Okay. Yeah. Very close.
Same thing.
Not really.
Close. Same country. I know
because I've been to both.
Same country. Yeah, and then after when I got older, I did some therapy and with like of my own accord or advice from other people. Advice from other people. Sounds funny, eh?
Yeah.
You need therapy, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Have you talked to someone about this?
Yeah, really. The one lady was good. There was this one lady. She was pretty good. She helped me touch on some deep things, which I had never done before.
In Fergus?
Yeah. And she was like, interesting. But I found like she was a Christian counselor.
Okay.
So I find there's a difference between people who are like religious,
super religious and strict religious people.
Yeah, but just like the barrier between like a religious counselor and then there's like a counselor who's doesn't really follow a religion or they're atheist or you know. I find there's a big difference
Of course, there are different people, different beliefs, right?
Yeah.
But this is why we have to, I think, remember therapists, psychologists, any kind of person who helps or tries to give advice and listens to you. They're also people too. They're not some like God in like this topic where they have to show you everything properly or that they are going to. A lot of times it's not the case.
Yeah. And yeah, it's weird because they have their stuff too, you know?
Exactly. They're people. Right after they talk to you, at the end of their workday, they're going home to their own problems.
Yeah. And it's like typical to see in like movies or TV shows.
Yeah.
The therapist's home is always the most messed up. You know?
I know. Crazy. Because they're people too. That's why.
Yeah. I wonder if it's because they don't want to bring their work home. So they just like give up. They're like, no, this is my time. I'm not going to try.
I think it's one of the hardest jobs if you actually want to be effective, you know, like, because it's such an important job. Someone's mind, if it's really vulnerable, like it's really sensitive to like properly give someone advice, because in severe cases people have depression, you know, and are thinking about maybe hurting themselves. And if those are the cases, maybe James, you can provide some links for people who need some kind of aid. Maybe we'll put a link in the description. If you feel like that, you know, you definitely should reach out and talk to people. I think that's really important.
Definitely.
So check out the show notes on the app, or if you're on YouTube, we'll put a link as to one of Canada's government's links.
Because there's a lot of free help you can get to. Tons of free help.
And it's, if you're that severe, you definitely need to talk to someone. I think having a support system is really important too.
I think family should be the number one therapy.
Yeah.
That you should have, and that should be kind of that guidance for you, and where you lean on for advice and help. Like it's such a shame. Today. Yeah, it's such a shame that, you know, some people don't have that.
Yeah.
Because it's such a crucial foundation, I think, for your mind and that mindset you have.
Definitely. So from my experience, I was never in any of the situations you were, so I didn't need to talk to people as a kid or a teenager. I don't think it would have been bad. There was no situation where someone would call, you know, a counselor to check up on me and my siblings. So not like that. We had our family. We were pretty close, the five of us. And especially with my mom, we could talk about anything. And I never felt like scared to do that. Right. So the most therapy I've done probably has been in my adulthood, in my 30s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In the last couple of years. So, and then you did it as adult too.
Yeah.
Just recently and before you met me also, in your 20s probably, right?
Yeah, early mid-20s, early 20s. Yeah.
Early 20s. So like, what would you say is your general consensus? Like on therapy and therapists, what has your experience been like?
I think it's hard. Therapy's kind of like Google. Mm-hmm. Like if you're looking for a certain answer, you're gonna find it with a therapist. Like you can go and get that answer
depending on the
therapist, right?
Yeah.
I find out more often than not, unfortunately, you can get that answer, and usually that answer supports like something that, you know, you should be told the opposite. It's hard because a lot of stuff that I feel like when you go into therapy, I mean, for me personally, whenever I've gone into it, it's like I've learned some hard lessons growing up already as a kid. So I know what the right thing to do is, just not how to do it, or like the kind of things I need to put into play to build a foundation to keep that consistent. So then when I go and see them, it's like what they're telling me, it's like, I already know this stuff.
Does it frustrate you to hear it again?
It frustrates me because it feels like a waste of time.
But you know? There's a reason why you're there. You take yourself there. No one forces you to go.
Yeah, because I'm looking for something that would
That's different.
That's different than what I already know. Not just like this, like, you're this type of person, or this is what you think, or you must think this way because of this. It's like, yeah, I kind of know I already do that. I just
tell me what to do.
Yeah, like give me that, like, you know. And it's hard because like I have a therapist now, and this guy's amazing. Like he really breaks it down for me in ways that I never see coming, you know.
Right. With amazing examples, right?
Yeah, and I know that he has a plan, and I've seen it because it's been like sessions on sessions, and I'm like, okay, I get eye-opening advice, and then it happened. He confirms it, checks with me again, checks with me again, and then points out something, and I'm like, oh, damn, there it is. You know,
that's so nice. It's such a relief, I think, when you have that kind of feeling, because in my experience, I'm sure you guys have heard, when it comes to therapy, you have to shop around, right? Find someone who you can not only connect with, but you get their advice and you're like, okay, that makes sense. I can use that. I think I can count on one hand how many times I've felt that. And it has been with certain situations with different people. So I have spoken to James's therapist before, and I feel the same way. When I talk to him, he gives me a lot of good insight, and I just love the way he speaks and explains things. But I think in my situation, it's a little bit different. For what I want, I haven't felt, because it's a tricky situation. Obviously, I don't want to go into my personal, like what I talk to my therapist about. But for what I want, I think a lot of it has to do with me and how I make my decisions. So a person can't really tell me what to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in some ways, I kind of want someone to tell me what to do sometimes, because, you know, it's hard. Certain decisions are hard to make, especially a specific one that I've been kind of going around and thinking about. When it's not something that you can fix, it's hard to do yourself, because, you know, there's risk taking, there's things that you need to be logical about, and etc. So I find it very hard when I'm looking for someone to tell me what to do, but at the same time, I know no one can do that. A therapist can't really do that. But I remember one documentary I watched that really had an effect on me this year was the Stutz documentary.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, it's spelled Stutz. And it is Jonah Hill. Is that his name?
Jonah Hill and his therapist.
Jonah Hill and his therapist. And
what was his name? Do you know? Do you remember it?
Phil Stutz.
Phil Stutz. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
His last name is Stutz. His first name is Phil.
Yeah, he had some cool theories.
Yeah, and he has a book called New Tools, which you got me the summary of the book, and I've read it. It's just great. When I watched that documentary, it was an hour and a half. It took me, I think, 3.5 hours, because I would pause it and take notes. Yeah. And it's so interesting because I told my brother to watch it, and he did the same. And I didn't even tell him, like, oh, I did that. Later, when I talked to him, he's like, I loved it so much, I took notes. I'm like, me too.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I think a therapist like that, like he really kind of tells people what to do. And his whole thing is, when he became a therapist, a psychologist, he realized that a lot of people in the Western world, the education is, here are the tools. Like, we just tell them, we listen to the person. Almost like you're just there to listen. And I've felt that from a lot of the therapists that I've spoken to.
Yeah,
it's just they're what is it, lending you an ear? But I have that with my friends. You know, I have a really good set of friends that I can talk to about certain things. So, and also my family for certain things. So for me, a therapist's job is not just for me to go somewhere to vent and then be like, I feel so empty and good. A lot of times that's good enough for somebody, right?
Yeah. Some people need that more than.
But so Phil Stutz said the same thing. He's like, I felt like I wanted to help someone and be like, hey, if you do this, like if you're depressed and I tell you to do this for like a couple of months or whatever, he didn't really give it a time. It will change your life. It will change your mind and mood. So to me, that's what got me to kind of really enjoy it.
Did it help?
It helped me at the time. Yeah. And I was afraid that after a bit it would wear off, and it did, because as human beings, we forget.
Yeah.
So, I bought a whiteboard and I wrote down his things. Yeah. And a lot of times, because I watched it with James again, and then James, did you like it?
Yeah, I did.
You really liked it too, good, right? Yeah. And so you would tell me, hey, remember this? At times, like you would remind me of certain things and it would be helpful. I think you just have to be healed for whatever you're going to therapy for.
Here's the thing.
In order to accept.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's say you got, because you were talking about therapists giving you an answer or something.
Yeah.
What if they gave you the answer? What if they told you what to do? Would you actually do it, do you think?
No, I'm not the type of person who would do what someone says. I just want
Even if you wanted that.
Even if I wanted. I'll be honest. Yeah, I know. That's so backwards.
She's like a cat.
Yeah. I think it's hard because sometimes you know what you have to do.
Yeah.
And like it's hard for you to do it because of certain situations and people and whatever the thing is. And sometimes you think to yourself, like, I'm a type of person who I can't think absolute right away and make a decision about my life and relationships. And I think when you do that, you actually lose at life because you're throwing out people so quickly when they meant so much to you. And that's, to me, that's childish and immature. And a lot of people, because of their life, I think
a lot of people operate that way, yeah.
So I'm trying to not do that in certain situations in my life, but I feel like I know the answer. I just don't know. Sometimes the right answer is not what you want to do. And then I have this battle in my head that, okay, if you know the right answer, if you know what to do, but it's hard for you to do it, you're just ignoring what you know in your head that's correct.
But sometimes a lot of, I was going to say sometimes a lot of the time, no. Sometimes the right answer or the answer that you have in your head, you think is the right answer, it isn't the right answer.
Exactly. And I've tried to take that from your experience and kind of keep that, because that's what we have to do as human beings if we don't learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, because personally, I always have the right answer. That's the problem with me. I always have the right answer. And I'm like, it's usually wrong every time.
Yeah, and that's like...
It's so hard. It's so hard to be like so confident in something and then be so wrong. It just messes your mind up.
I bet.
Oh, man. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've had that feeling in my life. Maybe you guys can relate to it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure there are people who can. And so, I think for what I have wanted, I haven't had a steady therapist or counselor who has given that to me. I felt it more through this documentary that I got more answers. Now I know if I do these things that this man is saying, these steps, it will help me. It would help anybody who's feeling down, right?
Yeah.
So like some of the things he's saying is like, you need to move and exercise. Obviously, we all know that, right? But for someone who's truly depressed and can't get out of bed, like it's difficult for them to do that.
Yeah, that's crazy that I've seen. You showed me people who just can't get out of bed because they're depressed.
Yeah, it's a serious thing. They don't make it up, they actually do feel like that. I remember one of the counselors I saw, she told me, she's like, because I was like, I don't understand how this something that we were talking about has happened. I don't get how people can do that. And she told me, she said, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm a therapist. And I know scientifically why a person cannot get out of bed because they're depressed. Scientifically, I understand it. But when I'm trying to help them and I say, okay, first you got to, give yourself this pep talk and just get out of bed. And they just can't do it. Even to me as a therapist, I'm like, come on, just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of talk on the internet nowadays towards many influencers or people who think they can come out and talk about other people's problems
like
is like,
it's
like you're depressed, go to the gym. That's not how it works. I don't think so anyways. Of course the gym will help you, but I think that's why I don't want to come across as James and I trying to tell you what to do, because it's different for everybody. I know a lot of my close friends feel the same way as me. They feel like sometimes maybe even going to therapy is a little bit more problematic.
Yeah, I would say like it depends on the therapist. Like what I was saying in the beginning, you could get a therapist that
just validates
validates how you're feeling, and generally sometimes how you're feeling isn't really something that you need to be validated more or less,
it will make
like
you
realigned,
worse.
right?
Yeah.
You know, or checked, because it can push you the wrong direction. And it's not like they're not doing their job.
No, it's just
that's how they assess the situation, how they feel they should deal with it, and then
it's subjective, right? So
Yeah,
someone
it's
could
so tough.
hear the validation that they want from a therapist and keep going to them, and that person's making whatever their money, right? However they need to. That's their job.
And they're doing their job, 100%.
And they're doing their job. But if they actually properly tell you, hey, listen, no, that's not correct. Like, it doesn't seem like you're trying, for instance, and you stop seeing them, right?
Yeah.
They have no say. They can't force you to come back.
Yeah.
They can't it's a tough job. It
Yeah,
really is.
It is.
And I don't think it's ever the therapist's fault in any shape or way. Like, I'm sure there's stories where there's someone who's crazy who's a therapist, but in general, I feel like whoever becomes a counselor, therapist, psychologist, it's because they love to help people.
Based on the grounds of a therapist doing their job, however their method is, not in a perverted, weird, kind of controlling manner.
Right.
You know, I would say that most of the time it's up to the individuals. They shouldn't blame the therapist for their actions.
Yeah.
When they do it. If a therapist advises you, you still have to have that know-how.
Yeah.
To determine whether or not you're going to receive that advice and act on it, or you're going to choose to go the other way.
Yeah.
Right?
I have had a therapist tell me to do some certain things that to me were very unethical and illogical for the situation that I was in. And I didn't do them because I have a backbone. I have an understanding of what I want, and I don't blame them for that. That's just, I think they're a human being. They saw the situation and wanted to give me a different kind of advice. So I think it's important for us to not blame somebody for our own mistakes if we do make them, you know?
At the end of the day, we're to blame. Yourself. Right?
Yeah, if you're not doing anything about it. And we're not saying that like you're at fault because you're depressed. No, of course not. Things happen in life that unfortunately really brings us down. What was that show that we watched where the therapist was the guy from The Office, Michael from The Office?
The Counselor.
It's called The Counselor? Yeah. That's a good show people can watch. It's crazy.
That was a crazy show.
Yeah.
The Crowded Room was a good one too.
Oh man, if you want to watch a psychological
That's
thriller.
A heavy watch.
It's heavy. Yeah, it's heavy. The Crowded Room. And then that one is a show, and The Counselor is a movie.
Yeah. No, The Counselor was a show.
It was?
Yeah, it was a show.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Both great shows, like relates to mental health.
My memory's so good when it comes to
shows and movies. Yeah.
I wish it was better on other things.
I never question your movie and TV show. He even remembers phrases so perfectly. Isn't that crazy how our brain works?
It's like keyed into that. But movies and shows, and that was my comfort. Mm-hmm. You know, those were my escapes from that.
Yeah.
You know?
And maybe even sometimes people you learn things from.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Some of the lines I find some of the lines in shows and stuff very therapeutic in a sense too, because a lot of them these are people writing them, and these are people writing from experience, right? And people. From emotions. So exactly. You can pull and it'll touch on you. If it tugs on you, then it's saying something to you, right? I've had it before where it's just kind of made me think, oh my God, I do that.
Yeah.
Or they say something and I'm like, what?
Well, it's been life-changing for you if you really think about it. Certain parts of a movie.
Yeah, because that's the reason. That's why I get into movies so much, and even indie movies and stuff too. Yeah. Because put away all the fake stuff that they're trying to
sci-fi?
Well, sci-fi. It doesn't matter. Put away all a movie in general is meant to be an illustration. It's it's to make you think of something else, put you in another place, right? There's still that real element to it, right? There's still the people working on the cameras, but the most important thing is there's those people writing. Yeah. And then the people who pull out the emotion from the writing.
It's crazy.
You know, it's crazy. Yeah. So the writing is like one thing that intrigues me when I hear dialogue and certain things that hit me, you know? And The Crowded Room was one of those shows that
That got us.
Brought out a lot of like personal things that I was feeling too. Like I could relate to a lot of smaller issues, smaller things, but like the baseline was still kind of similar. Yeah, it's crazy. We can find like there's so many things that can be therapeutic instead of a therapist. Right.
But I do recommend therapy overall. At the end of it all, even though I personally haven't found someone regular that I think of and I'm like, yes, this is who I'm going to go to because I know they'll have the answer. I don't have that yet. I am actually on a waiting list for a therapist that was recommended to me by someone at Julianne Mosh's party. Oh, cool. And he's an older gentleman, like soon to retire, I think, which is Phil Stutz is the same. Like he's older as well. And he is available in January 2024. So I'm hoping to start. But you know what's really hard? When you start with, and this has been so hard for me because I've been shopping around for a therapist. When you start with a therapist, you have to explain everything. And that in itself is traumatic. You know, you're just tired. You don't want to be sad again about it.
Repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And you're like, then it doesn't even seem like an issue to you anymore. It just seems like this thing. You know?
No, for me, it's not that.
Well, I mean, like when you repeat things too much, sometimes it just loses that essence sometimes. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it is for you, but.
So far for me, it hasn't done that, but it's re-traumatized those things because I don't think it's healthy to live through like things that you have experienced and you're like, you obviously didn't enjoy.
Maybe you should not shop around after this next guy. Just hold off for a bit.
I mean, at some point I was talking to like 5-6 different people, you know, trying to find someone who could help and like make me understand things better. And then a documentary helped me so much more, you know? So that's why James is saying you can find therapeutic things in different things.
Yeah. There's been a lot of one-liners in movies that have just changed me for the better.
Yeah, that's good.
You know?
Has there been, like during the time where you were kind of feeling down and sad, has there been movie quotes or things that have made you worse?
No.
So you kind of take it more positively than negative.
Yeah, but I'm not looking for it. It just hits me. You know, I think I'm fortunate that way. I think it's I don't know if it's luck, if it's like some kind of divine intervention or something that just like hits me, but it happens.
So would you generally, after all the experiences you've had, would you recommend therapy to people?
I would. Me too.
Yeah, I definitely do.
If you don't have someone to talk to, especially I would. Yeah. I would start, instead of therapy, jumping into therapy, I would recommend just finding someone who you can communicate, someone who can listen to you, someone you trust.
Yeah, it's hard to find people you trust these days.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have at least one or two people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are really close.
One is enough.
They trust each other, but they just don't talk about anything. Yeah. And that's like that with guys, especially. There's a lot of guys who do that, right? So,
but also you need someone who is wise, like who's not going to give you bad advice. So I think like in general, whether it's a friend or a therapist, even a professional like that, you shouldn't take their word at...
What makes you wise?
You shouldn't take their word at its core and be like, they're right, I have to do that. Yeah. What makes people wise? Probably life experience and properly doing right after you've done wrong, I think.
Right, yeah.
Because if you don't learn from those things and you keep making the same mistakes, then your experiences haven't done anything for you.
Then you're a piece of crap.
Then you're just like, chilling. You're just floating, right? You're not really trying to swim. So I would say.
So in conclusion, I think we would recommend therapy.
Yeah, for sure.
We would recommend therapy.
I would.
Definitely 100%. Find someone to talk to, though, that you trust, that has some wisdom that you would deem wiser than you, you know?
Like we have introduced people in our life to certain people that we know, like therapists that we know. Yeah. Just so that they can get help, but hopefully they were able to get good help. Or friends, just to talk
to other friends, even who've experienced the same thing. It's important.
I have an advice for our male audience. If you have friends who you feel like they need to talk to you, maybe press on them a little bit,
Yeah.
Get your friends to talk to you. You don't have to necessarily give them advice. And that's something I think it's important for us to know.
Yeah.
Because you and I, we like to give advice, but sometimes you just have to
just listen. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think a therapist shouldn't just listen. They should try to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not therapists, so...
Yes, don't listen to us. Yeah. I think our advice is pretty generic, so it's fine. Yeah.
I think it's unbiased and not generic.
Unbiased. Yes, correct. Yeah. We're so smart.
So smart.
Come to us for therapy.
Yeah.
It's free.
Watch our podcast.
Hopefully that's therapeutic for you. Yeah. Honestly, if our podcast brings someone a little bit of joy and happiness, to me, that's more than enough. So thank you for listening to us. Yeah.
That's why we do it. That's why we do it. That's
really why we do it. But
we
also
have a
we
small
like
core
talking.
group, and we do this for you guys because we love talking, and you apparently like to listen.
Yeah. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hopefully you're doing great. And hopefully you don't need therapy. But someone who does need therapy doesn't mean that they're doing bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Therapy helps.
Therapy's good to keep you balanced. Mm-hmm. You're not right all the time.
Yeah.
Me, I'm wrong all the time.
We love you guys so much.
Love you guys.
Hope you have a good week and hope you enjoyed this fun, kind of lighthearted episode. Bye.